And there's nobody driving that car. It's a Waymo. Whoa, double take on that. All right, really got to pay attention in Miami because just because the pedestrian crosswalk says go doesn't mean they will stop. We've learned that from experience. A lot of scary moments, but we're in Miami, the 305. We're coming up on the Freedom Tower, and it's really lovely. My goodness, we got to figure out how old this building is. You can see there's this almost like a lookout part to the very top of the structure, and stucco building, this kind of Gothic lighting, lanterns, so lovely. And this is the first place that immigrants come to for citizenship, right? And that I'm going to bounce to my husband because he's got some really cool personal stories how his family ended up here in Miami from Cuba.
Yeah, now obviously they don't use it anymore for that, but historically that's what they did. Especially it was a big influx of Cubans when Cuba became real communist and Fidel took over, and so I guess today we'll learn a little bit about that history in here. And it's actually been down. It was down the last few years for renovation. So honestly, I don't remember even coming in here. Maybe as a kid for, a field trip or something.
I love that we have our children here. Super important to retell those stories of your roots. Very, very important. And so George's roots, even though we are here in Miami, but it stems back to Cuba. My family, Scotland.
Yeah.
Oh,
so there,
beautiful.
Isn't this cool? This is the front of it, and you see it's just a beautiful tower. And then you notice there's the World Cup as we're trying to dodge the rain. It's actually owned by Miami-Dade College, so the community college here, which is a huge and amazing school here. But here's a FIFA. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
And it's actually diagonal from the arena, the American Airlines Arena, where, well, actually, it's not the American, I think it's called the Kaseya Arena now. So, and then there's Bayfront Park. So, Kat, you ready? Let's get out of the rain.
Yeah, let's go, kids.
We are inside, and this is beautiful. Look at the ceiling. Look at this amazing globe chandelier. And as I'm walking up, you see a little bit more about the history. Look at these amazing tiles. The gentleman, we just got our tickets, was telling us that the tile was imported from Cuba. They're just beautiful. Look at that. I don't know if you could see.
Some native animals.
It's crazy. And Kat was talking a little bit about the history, and she found some of the history here.
Yeah, so one thing I have to point out, though, that right in the lobby is this gorgeous chandelier. I have a thing for chandeliers, you guys. So it's a globe is on the inside of this massive chandelier. Isn't that so beautiful? So it's like this, beautiful message of just unity and remembering your past, looking forward to your future here, and just a beautiful welcoming sign, a lot of hope. This is gorgeous. I love big old chandeliers. And the history of this building, because it is so stunning, and I knew it was super old, but I'm like, what's the year? When was it completed? And so here's a bit of the backstory. The Freedom Tower at Miami-Dade College. This is truly a historic landmark. It stood as a beacon of hope and opportunity. And again, it's one of the first things that folks who are arriving here for the country for the first time get to see. It is their connection point. Completed in 1925 as the city's first skyscraper, so this was the tallest building at that time, and home to the Miami Daily News, which that's pretty cool. I'm an old newsie myself, so very cool to know that. It was a symbol of the modern times and the growing ambitions of a city that was rapidly growing and bringing in so many people from across the pond. So I absolutely love the style of it all. Okay, and from 1962 to 74, this building took on a new and profound role as the Cuban Refugee Center, which is near and dear to our heart. and the Vasquez family, offering critical support and services to approximately 400,000 exiles fleeing dictatorship in Cuba and seeking freedom in the U.S. And again, we have some very personal stories that I would like for George to share of how his family fled Cuba.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing just to think, and maybe we can walk and talk and admire a little bit more about this building. But so my family came from Cuba on my mom's side, starting with her. She was the first
In the 60s.
In the 60s. She was what they call a Peter Pan kid. She was not. Yeah, she was. It was a government program started by the CIA. They were taking kids away from families to bring them here, and so that was when they still had like commercial flights still in Cuba. They had just started going communist with Fidel, and so long story short, they would tell the kids they were going to go see Peter Pan. I guess Peter Pan was popular at the time, and she was put on a plane and came by herself. She was the middle of 3 siblings. She had an older sister and a younger brother, or my uncle, my aunt, but she was the one that kind of pioneered and came first. And then her parents came like 4 or 5 years later. So can you imagine? You know, you just
Be
grow.
separated from your family and all the unknowns, and then the civil unrest, all the political unrest in Cuba, not knowing what was going on. I could not imagine. So, I know Abuela is one of my heroes.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I know that they came through here, and then when my grandparents came, they came through here, and I remember hearing stories like they would come here to get like assistance, like food, like literally they would give them like bags of food and groceries. But this was kind of like the modern day Ellis Island for many Cubans. So pretty neat. So let's walk through here, and then we're gonna the museum, the FIFA museum, Papa Museum's upstairs. But let me just point out, look at these ceilings. Look at these ceilings. Let me see if I could point it out. Look at this unbelievable Gothic style. Wow, look at this, Kat. This is some of the beautiful. Look at this amazing painting, the mural.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. Unbelievable. Stunning. Wow. Just stunning, guys, and it I don't know if video does it any justice, but the colors are just so gorgeous. The blues, and wow. Kat, what do you think about this mural?
Oh, it just takes your breath away. And let's see, there is a poem here. Okay, here once by April breezes blown, you came, O gallant de Leon, sailed up this friendly ocean stream to find the wells of ancient dream, the fountain by the poets sung, where life and love are ever young. You found it not, O prince, and yet the wells that make the heart forget are waiting here, yes, ever here, with a touch of some immortal sphere. For here below these skies of gold, we have forgotten to grow old. Here in this land, where all of the hours dance by us, treading upon flowers, by Edwin Markham. Beautiful poem about hope. And this was the land of hope for so many. So that was the artwork that greeted everyone who walked in here. I wonder when this was actually completed, though. It's a full-on wall mural. It's gorgeous. Yeah.
Commissioned 1925. I don't know if you heard that. It was commissioned 1925, and it's the mural of the New World 1513 was attributed by muralist Edward Trumbull, 1884 to 1968. Wow, this is unbelievable.
100 years old. Wow. Okay, so the muralist was a Mexican immigrant. That's so cool. Oh, I love it. Yeah. Wow. So Ponce de Leon, I think that's who the poem was referring to. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of streets in Miami named Ponce de Leon, like in Gables, because he explored all this. This is Florida was Spanish territory before the U.S. America took it over. So
nice, beautiful.
What it looked like when they registered here. So, kind of walking through, and this is where they would come to get assistance, help. Like I said, my family kind of came through here, and it was. I guess, nonprofits of the refuge and the refugees that were here. And this is kind of what life was like. So, but I was just telling Kat that it's pretty neat. There's the boys, where these were like letters and people saying, hey, there's opportunity here in New York and different cities. And if you look over here, there's one for Louisville, Kentucky. And it's like a little letter that he's saying, hey, I want to inform you that there's a Center for Cuban, civic Cubans in Louisville, Kentucky. So, I mean, they were basically putting Cubans everywhere, right? So pretty neat.
All the dots connecting here. And I remember when we lived in Louisville, everybody was telling us, there's definitely a growing Cuban community here. It's been here for a while, and now here's proof.
Some of the origins of it. So, this building, we were just talking about how this building has a lot of dual history because, we have the Cuban connection, and then there's the news connection because this was the daily newspaper for Miami, and Kat was an old newsie, like she mentioned. So, pretty neat. Both our families have some history tied to this amazing building. So. But it's kind of cool how they've kind of recreated what it looked like back then, The boys are playing around with very interactive with like the radio, and then you see the stories. Pretty amazing. This is pretty inspiring, and just get a little bit of the goosebumps, thinking that your grandparents kind of walked through here and, not knowing, leaving everything behind. I tell the kids all the time, which they're here and you see them running around, that what if we had to pack up and go to another country, learn a new language? Like, that's what they had to do. He was a lawyer. He helped run the coffee industry, kind of like the organization that kind of pushed Cuban coffee around the world.
So he worked with the former government.
Yes, the Bautista government. They would kind of work together, but just to think that you had to kind of get up and just go, and so this place is kind of like a symbol of freedom, and really like, hey, the U.S. really took our families in, right? And that's why it's such a great country that you have opportunity here. We all do. And that's sometimes when we kind of hit with adversity and we're just praying like, God, give us a door. We got to realize how blessed we are that God has placed us to live in such a time as this, in such a free country that has freedom, that has principles rooted in the Lord, in Christianity, biblical principles that promote freedom, because ultimately we have freedom in Jesus. Amen. So.
Amen. I couldn't put it any better myself. One thing I do have to mention, though, the Cuban ingenuity. They are some of the most joyful people. They are solution finders, so creative, and I think they have to be because of their given circumstances in the current administration. But thinking back generations now, like in the 60s, those families that they did not know what the future held for them. They had enjoyed so much success and really affluence, right?
Yeah.
And your family particularly were very connected to the former government, and that was a whole other level of living. So I could not imagine the type of adjustment. That's not even a fair word, but that's why my hat is off to that generation that had to figure it out, had to fight through, reconnect dots with their family later, which thankfully a lot of them were able to do. And here we are generations later in this beautiful monument of all of those folks believing in hope, believing for a future. And it really was all about their trust levels and going for it.
Yeah, and it doesn't just mean so much to Cuban families. This has stood up for just any immigrants. British immigrants I know that came through here. Like this was if you were coming in from the South, like Florida, you would come through here, and but yeah, it's amazing. So we're gonna keep walking around. We'll do some B-roll, and then we're gonna go upstairs and check out this FIFA museum.